her. Oh, by the way, she also said she was going to pay me for drawing her will, and that she was going to pay me by giving me a bottle of whiskey that was left over from my mother's wedding. So that's what I got for drawing her will.
Well, at least you got something.
That's right. And her will divided everything equally. And I was puzzled for years why that had to be a secret. She was, well, Betty had died. So Betty's share, the 1/4 share, which wasn't much of anything, went to Betty's 3 children. And then Mother, Reuben, and Frida each got a 1/4. So it was pretty funny. But I finally figured out many years later why it was a secret. All 3 of her daughters, they moved away from Knoxville. One in Chattanooga, one in Birmingham, and one in, Bristol originally. So Reuben was left in Knoxville. And over the years, Reuben and his wife, as he got older, took care of her like you guys did with Natalie. So I'm sure I concluded anyhow that Buddy Copeland thought that Reuben's wife believed that Reuben should get the lion's share of whatever Buddy Copeland had because they were there to take care of her. That was the only reason I could figure out why she didn't want me to tell anybody that she was dividing it equally.
Did she have anything when she passed, Jarvin? Do you remember?
Probably she had 3 little pieces of real estate and maybe a little money in a bank account, less than $20,000. But that was 1951. And of course, she may have had, the same thing for 20 years, which would probably have been even more meaningful earlier. Eli, did you get the email I forwarded to you?
It was absolutely hilarious and was very reminiscent of a number of emails that your brother used to send me all the time. I enjoyed it.
Someone has to pick up the slack.
What was it?
Well, I had a folder in my email where I auto-filled all the emails that Uncle Gilbert sent me. I would put into a folder because I couldn't deal with, I think the nice term for it would be smut, but I couldn't deal with it on a daily basis. But if I was ever in a bad mood, I would just open the Uncle Gilbert folder, and you know what it was. It was Titty Tuesday, and show your buddy some boobs day. It was all the stuff that you knew exactly what Uncle Gilbert.
I never got on that list.
Well, you can consider yourself lucky. When Uncle Jarvin sent me some live footage from an amusement park ride that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, some fellow sent that to me this morning.
Oh my God. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I'm having a few technical difficulties here today.
The Uncle Rich on there.
Cindy.
Yeah.
The message of the day was on the funeral home website, and it was one of Uncle Reuben's former assistants named Mary Lou. And Reuben was also famous for his assistants, but Mary Lou, she explained it all. She was part of the family. She said Sylvia let her call her Bub. She sounded like, according to Joel, she single-handedly got Joel through dental school and his boards, and even went to Memphis and stayed with Bub in her hotel room. So explained all this and saying a nice memory of Natalie, but that was funny, fascinating.
I think that story that you told last night about the sock on the door was absolutely hysterical. I thought that was just so funny.
It was true, and that was the maddest I've seen my mother. And of course, it didn't matter. I was already probably 18.
As if you didn't know what it meant anyhow.
Oh my God, AJ, I see the beard coming in there.
Yeah, the Shiva beard.
You have a beard.
Shame, I couldn't-
Yeah.
Okay. Good for you. Well,
Although mom wouldn't tell me you need to.
Go ahead and shave, yeah. That's why I did. I thought she'd like it better.
Oh, you did?
I
Let me
did.
see.
Hello, bud.
Hey, Cindy, how are you? Thank
How
you
are
for being with us joining us all these many nights here. So listen, I don't have my full dexterity here. I'm on an iPad, which I've never used for Zoom before. It's been giving me a little bit of problems. I could not find the right Zoom background. I can't be on my computer because Simpla's teaching a class till 8:30.
I really,
So
you're,
I have to
look,
hide
I
in
don't
another
really hear you.
room.
You're talking to the wrong person.
Okay.
So,
Cindy, it was good.
So
to see your mom. She
anyway,
seems like she's
I-
doing
I-
well.
Asher's on the phone.
well, Joyce called mother today. So they had a nice little conversation.
Good.
That's good.
Unfortunately, my mother did not recognize the Bernsteins as y'all had heard that conversation. And I was texting my brother and my sister, show such and such to mother, show such, you know, when you're the oldest, AJ can understand. Your siblings don't listen. But anyhow.
I'm the oldest.
Oh, okay. So
And
sorry.
your siblings don't listen.
Yeah, that's right. So, and unfortunately the Sayas weren't on either. And I pointed out Sam Bailoff to her, but I chatted with Eleanor. She sees Eleanor every once in a while.
Does she?
Yeah, because Eleanor's married to a guy from Houston who's one of Barry's best childhood friends.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to bring in Hallel Yigdal, Emery, Sherlock, and we might have Sam here too. This is Hallel's girlfriend, Emery, who we love. And we got Sam in there. We got Sherlock in there. They're making a minion. helping us make the minion. Emery, a minion is 10 people. So they're 10 beings in this case. 10 beings. So
Two dogs.
my friend,
2 dogs equals 1 person.
Yeah, but you watching these runoffs? Are you watching CNN?
Is it close?
is it close?
Too early to tell.
Yeah, it's close.
It's gonna be close all night.
What do you think? We got the Atlanta crowd there. Are we taking bets tonight?
I just got a report from the field, from the poll
Yeah.
worker.
Yeah, what did
He's
he
on his way home in his small African-American church voting precinct. It was 90% out of the 360 votes, 90% Dem and 10% Republican. Not
How'd they get 10%?
Not a big representative.
I'm surprised they got 10%.
But the good news is that there were significant, I think 100 more votes than there was in the November election, which is really unbelievable at a runoff.
Uh-oh.
So that's what he was very positive about. So his work is done, he said.
No,
There you
but
go.
Okay.
bullied him around.
What?
Nobody came and bullied him around.
No. Yeah, he'll be here in about 30, 40 minutes. We'll let him give out his own report.
He's a poll worker.
He's a poll watcher.
I think mom went over to help get out the vote.
What's he got, a loaded Glock down there?
for the
Richard.
Democrats.
Richard, where's your brother and your sister?
Tonight.
Richard Gluck.
Speaking.
No, I know where they reside. Where are they tonight or last night?
I don't know. I agree with you. They should have been on last night for sure. Joel
Gluck's
was
are
a couple
slippery.
nights. Joel and Lloyd, they were on a couple of nights ago. They should have been on last night.
How's your sweet mother?
Yeah, my mother's doing okay. I mean, Faye has really been the big loser, not being able to sit in on these all week. She would have really loved to have been part of this.
Does she even know that Natalie passed away?
No, I didn't say anything to her, Jarvin. I
Yeah.
don't think she can process it kind of over a FaceTime call. And I got a thing from Huntcliffe. She's getting vaccinated on the 18th. So I think after she gets vaccinated, we can see her. I'll tell her, although I don't know, not sure how she'll process it. I was going to say, Ash, what I'd like to do, if you can send me that recording you did last night, I'd like to show her that. Just say, hey, these are some old pictures of the family you might like. But yeah, she would have loved to. This has been all old home week for kind of the Robinsons and the Glucks and Levsons. She would have seen a lot of people on here she would have liked, but just couldn't get her to process it. So she's feeling fine. She's doing good, but she's in lockdown at this assisted living facility, and it ain't great.
Well, she's been missed.
Yeah, she would have really enjoyed this. I mean, this is something you would enjoy, but that was her life.
Well, I'm looking at the screen right now. It says Oslop's got like 426,000, and the screen disappeared. But he was well up ahead of.
Purdue.
I don't think that's going to mean much of anything right now.
It's 20% reporting. Warnock's up 54 to 45, and Ossoff's up 54 to 46.
20%?
Yeah.
20% already?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that 20% of those who voted today, or 20% of?
Yeah, that they can't tell you.
I'm not sure.
I heard they were turning off some of the voting machines in some of the more conservative districts. Have been, in the national news. The president seems to be convinced.
Mm-hmm.
Tell him to shut up and go home.
He doesn't have a home anymore. Nobody wants him. New York doesn't want him. Florida doesn't want him.
He tried to go to Scotland and they didn't want him.
Tell him to go someplace.
He'd fit in well in Texas. We should send him there.
I think he
Wait
needs.
a minute. We have enough idiots of our own. Please.
I'm ready for Elon Musk and him to get together and have Elon send him on the first trip to Mars. I think that it would help his ego.
A one-way
and
ticket. A one-way ticket.
That's right.
Okay, guys, I just want to tell you the rabbis had shown up. It's time to behave.
Well, we don't behave in front of you.
So I wanted to add
I'm
one story.
family.
Nate, I wanted to add one story that I don't know if it's for the entire crowd, but kind of dovetailing off of Pace's story last night around your mother had definitely another side to her. So you guys would be the only ones that would remember this. But if you remember the weekend that Rue was bringing his potential fiance to the lake.
Which one?
Well,
Fine.
I don't know where. I'm not sure. I think this one may have been from either England or Canada.
Canada.
Yeah, the Canadian.
Canada, Mo. You remember that week? And we had gotten, all of us, me and AJ and Joe, all the kids had gotten a lecture from really Aunt Nat, who said, look, this is how we're going to play this thing out. Don't say anything stupid, because this is our last shot at getting rid of this guy. And
She said that.
yeah. She gave us the, all right, this is what we can't do or say. Don't ask if she's Jewish. Don't ask if she keeps kosher. Where does she go to synagogue? I don't think she was Jewish. I don't know. So she gets off the plane. I think she gets off the plane with a ring. He gives her a ring, a big old fat diamond ring. And sure enough, she comes down the lake, and first thing I think it was me who said something extremely inappropriate to her, either what she was wearing or something around Jewish. And I have to tell you, Nat, lit into me on the side. I'll never forget. She had a way about her that was, scary. And anyway, to make a long story short, she wrote me down the aisle. And then by the time this woman left, she didn't have no ring on her finger after that whole weekend. That's the last we saw her. What was her name? Anybody remember, Moan?
No, but she was from Canada.
She was a member. She was from
And
Canada.
you did ask if she was Jewish. That is what you asked.
And your mother
just popped it out there.
Your mother said, look, don't ask her anything about, is she Jewish or what synagogue? Does she keep kosher? And I think that's the first damn thing I said to her.
It's funny.
And that just get into me, man.
We started digging through pictures, and Reuben had a woman in every different picture at all the family occasion pictures here in Houston. And he must
Reuben, by the way, Margot and Miriam, Reuben is my father's brother.
Oh. And he came down for something, and he's walking towards me, and I don't think he knew who I was. And my mother comes right in the middle, and she says, "That's my daughter. Back away." Oh, but these pictures, Mother, who is this woman? So and so. But
we never kept track of the names. That would have been a waste of time.
Yeah.
Only one name that lives in infamy.
So, Margot and Miriam, I want to introduce you. I think you know the characters in my family here.
Hey,
correct?
Hey, y'all.
Oh, you guys have feedback, so one of you has to mute.
Okay. All right, we got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so these are my two good friends in Philadelphia, Rabbis Miriam Klotz and Rabbi Margot Stein. Both of them happen to be Yigdal's godparents. Margot's been a long-time singing partner. Miriam was a drummer with me. I know Margot from Toronto days. I know Miriam from Israel. So they've heard enough stories about you guys to be familiar with you.
The truth is, I came into your life in 1986. So I was thinking about when I had met Natalie, probably in Toronto when we lived there. And then through the years, and then the one time I went down to Knoxville, remember that? I drove down, and so over the years, definitely been there.
And
I just want to say hey to y'all, and as a Southerner growing up in Atlanta, I feel kinship, AJ and Nicole and all y'all, and last time that I won't say this when we start, but I just want y'all to know it was really, really precious to me, a connection with Razel that Natalie was, before she went to the Orchard. I know y'all tried out the Bremen home, and my aunt Frances Mannheim is there, and so I had the gift of seeing Natalie, and they happened to live like a few rooms apart from each other for those few weeks or months, whatever it was, and it's really special to see them together. They had gone to high school. I think Natalie was a year ahead of Frances. So,
how is Frances doing now?
Very precious.
We saw Natalie at the Bremen home several times.
Yeah.
They would eat dinner. They actually were at the same table eating dinner together. Very
Your father was my ophthalmologist until he retired.
There was another time, Natalie, Yigdal, I would never say this, I won't say this publicly either, but when I had the blessing of being with you, Razel, when you gave birth to that boy, and I will never forget your mom there in her trench coat, Well, she didn't wear the trench coat in the hospital room, but it was raining and a little chilly outside in January.
I'm gonna let everybody in here.
Wait. One more thing, Asher. All right, that's okay. You can let him. Miriam, I want you to slide your screen so you can see my Uncle Jarvin, because he's on the board at the Brenman if you need, and he's the one that was talking to you and asking a question. Do you see him?
Oh, I
On
didn't
your-
hear the question. I'm sorry, I didn't hear a question.
All right, you got,
Well, I
he
was-
might not be in your boxes. You might have to move,
We have him.
you have him?
Mhm.
Oh, look who's
Can you
here.
hear me now?
Mhm.
Yes.
Your father, Hugh, was my ophthalmologist until he retired, which really upset me since he was a lot younger than I am. And your grandmother, if I recall, frequently gave book reviews to the Hadassah women of Atlanta.
Yeah.
And my mother was a frequent attendant.
It's
How
a
wonderful.
beautiful
Long time
world.
ago.
Yeah, Rose
Yeah.
Glass. Oh, Jarvin.
So I just
How
want to
are your-
welcome everybody. I want to welcome everybody. Asher's let everybody in. We're just so grateful that all of you are here tonight. I'm just seeing faces from so many different places of my life. It's like this is your life for my mother. So I just want to ask you to put in the chat who you are, where you're from, where you're zooming in from, and say hello to all of us so that we can have a record of this and see who's here. Say your name. You got to put your name.
Randy, I can't get my video to work. It's Pam.
Pam Vino. Okay.
Let
Would
me
you,
see if
can you put on a,
I don't know why it's not working. It was working before. I don't know. I'll listen.
you'll listen.
I'll try and get it to work. Oh, now it does. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, I think.
Hi, Razel. It's Nancy Epstein, and I'm very sorry about your mom. And I've been delighted just to learn so much about her amazing life and your amazing relationship with her.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing her with us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, there's several people that have been here on here for many nights, and some of you are just joining us tonight. Rabbis Margot Stein and Miriam Klotz are going to be leading us in a Mariv tonight, and my family's here, and Scottsdale I got coming in, and Philadelphia, and of course a lot of Knoxville contingents, which we know is the center of the universe. And at least we feel that way in Knoxville. There was a connection from everybody, even the people who leave Knoxville. I see Carolyn and Dina. I see people who are in the Knoxville diaspora that are joining us tonight, where they leave a piece of their soul in Knoxville, goes with them. You can take the people out of Knoxville. You can't take Knoxville out of the people. So
I've got a question for you, Razel. I've got a question for you. This is Ray from Knoxville. Are you planning to have a Shloshim service already?
I am actually setting up minyanim for the complete month of Shloshim at 9 p.m. every night. If you're interested in that, shoot me an email or Pace or AJ, and we'll get you the links for it. I'm just trying to get it all together for now. And then, yes, we will have a Shloshim. I think it's January 30th.
Good.
So
Glad to
I'll
hear
keep
that.
you posted on that. You can put your name in the chat. You're interested in that, and I'll keep you posted on that.
Sounds
That'd be
good. Thank
great.
you.
Okay. Any other logistic questions? I think we'll save till later. And I'll turn this over to Margot and Miriam to take us through Mariv, and we'll take it from there.
All right, let's give this screen share a try. Yeah. Okay.
You need help?
It's just the screen share just to get it on the right, so it shows up. Got it. And then once I get it once, it'll be good for the rest.
Okay.
Yay da 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 da. Yay da da da. Yay da da. Yay. Yay da da da. Yay da da. Yay da 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 da. Yay da 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 da. Yay da 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 da. Yay da da. Yay da 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 da. Yay da da da. Yay da da. Yay da 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 da. Yay da da.
Welcome, everybody. Let's take a moment now to look around all these panels. We have 3 panels on my screen, 66 of us here at this moment. Take in the faces as we just took in that beautiful face of Natalie Robinson. And see who all is here. See each other, and let's gather our intentions to really be together, closing the distance of really of space and time zones, to open our hearts together from wherever you are, geographically, temporally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, whatever else has been before right now. Let's set our intentions to be here with Natalie's family, and all of us who perhaps knew Natalie, perhaps are here because we love, care for, community with AJ, Pace, Razel, or the all these. I know I would leave somebody out, so please know this isn't inclusive. To say all the grandkids, all the spouses of Natalie's kids, Jarvin, brother of Natalie. We're all here in support of remembering and giving honor to the life of Natalie, and providing comfort and support and community with each other for all y'all. I hope that's correct Southern grammar. I believe it is. All y'all's plural, 3 or more. All y'all we're here tonight, also in grief as well as in celebration of the beautiful life that Natalie Robinson was and led. So we'll come together now in our prayer for the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMivorach. Baruch Adonai HaMivorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMivorach Le'olam Va'ed. As we the Ma'ariv Aravim prayer, just take a moment to realize this is already the 5th day of Shiva. And as we enter this 5th day, that we might be feeling and maybe we could take a moment to write in the chat where you're at today, to take stock of this moment for you at this time, where you are in the journey, maybe harvest a few thoughts about how it's been so far, or what's something you might want to share with others. Are you afraid or are you full? Are you feeling fear or loss? Are you feeling love? And just to tune in that Ma'ariv Aravim is about smoothing out those edges, and that we smooth them out together as we reflect on 5 days now that we are joining in this community. Sorry, I'm just having. I think this could change. Sorry about this. There we go. We'll just sing the first and the last with the evenings in between. Not screen sharing. Okay, I'm going to try one more time. Okay. Sacred words, even the evenings. Wisdom opens gates locked around our hearts. Asher bidvaro mahariv aravim. Bechokma poteach she'arim. Evening, the evenings. Evening the frayed edges of our lives. Ma'ariv Aravim. Amen. Spirit of the night, we bless your name. Eternal light, eternal flame. El Chai v'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Leolam Va'ed. Evening, the evenings. Evening the frayed edges of our lives. Ma'ariv Aravim. Amen. And as you take a moment to see what else needs evening out right now, which frayed edges, bring attention to that place. And we'll sing one more time. Evening, the evenings. Evening the frayed edges of our lives. Ma'ariv Aravim. Amen. Just take one breath together. Just take a deep breath in. Let it go. And share a way we can come together for opening to the love, the circle of love that we truly are underneath all the veils of separation. And I learned this from Razel. So thank you, Razel. If you're comfortable doing so, you can bring your hands up so they're visible on the screen.
on your screen to you, and rub them together. Feel the energy and the heat, the life force that we are blessed here in this life to have. And when you're ready, you can take your hands apart. You might notice a tingling or sensation through the hands, and then turn them towards the screen. You're going to let the hands be an expression of your heart and your goodwill, and um, and being part of this community that we are. So Razel taught, well, okay, so we have our circle of love right there in the screen share, but still, so this was the whole,
Sorry,
okay.
go ahead,
No,
gotcha.
no, quite all right. Before we go there, just take a moment, and again, thank you, Razel, for this Torah, the Torah of Zoom, sharing. Bring your hands to the edges, and it's as if we're touching each other's hands, almost, but not. So you really just take that in for a moment. Like, imagine your hands are actually touching in the screen next to you. Okay? Touching but not. And so we are creating an energetic circle, a loving, and hopefully for each of us in our different ways, really loving and safe and open, heart-wise container here. And this is mirroring the love of creation, the love of the eternal. And with this intention, you can bring your hands down. You might, if you feel comfortable, place them on your own heart, not lap, wherever they are comfortable. And now, Margot, here we go. We really are a circle of love. We are a circle, circle, circle of love. We are a circle, circle, circle of love. Everybody try singing that. We are a circle, circle, circle of love. We are a circle, circle, circle of love. Galgalei Ahava, Galgalei Ahava, through time and space, eternity, we are a circle of love. Through time and space, eternity, we are a circle of love. Now it is Zoom, but I wish I could hear you. We are a circle, circle, circle of love. We are a circle, circle, circle of love. You keep that going. We are a circle, circle, circle of love. We are a circle, circle, circle of love. Galgalei Ahava. Galgalei Ahava. Through time and space, eternity, we are a circle of love. Through time and space, eternity, we are a circle of love. Recite the Shema together. Just for more memories. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et
Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levanecha v'shinantan levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech u'shachbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom. Help us to lie down, dear God, in peace. And let us rise again, our sovereign, to life. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Decree for us a worthy daily lot and redeem us for the sake of your great name. Great Spirit, protect us and keep us from enemies within or without, from illness, sword, famine, and sorrow. Enfold us in the wings of your protection, for you are our redeeming guardian. Truly a sovereign, gracious, and compassionate God are you. Guard our going forth each day for life and peace, now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Let's all say together, blessed are you, compassionate one, whoever guards the people Israel and all who dwell on earth. And we move now into the time for the Amidah, which is the time for silent prayer. And so we'll take just a little bit of time. I believe Margot will have the words, if you'd like to pray the traditional Amidah, or at least as it's represented in the Shiviti, which is very, which is in the Hebrew, will be up shortly. But you can also sit and have this time to be with breath, be with the thoughts and the prayers of your heart. And we'll come back together in just a few moments, about a minute or so, to deepen into what this time holds for you right now. As you open to heart within your heart, make some space for the eternal that breathes through every breath, with you, through you.
Robinson-Raphael Warnock has a lead of more than 270.
Guard my tongue from all evil, and my lips from spouting lies. May I think before I begin to speak. May my words be gentle and wise. Help me ignore those who wish me ill. Help me be humble before all. Open my heart to your Torah, that I know how to answer your call. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, Imru, Amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, imru, amen. Yai-da-da-dai-dai-dai-dai, yai-dai-dai-dai-dai, yai-da-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai, yai-da-dai-dai-dai-dai, yai-da-da-dai-dai-dai-dai, yai-dai-dai-dai-dai, yai-da-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai, yai-da-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, imru, and for our Aleinu, we're going to use a few words from the Aleinu that Razel set to music, and feel free to sing it in a round in our imagination of how the future Zoom is going to be able to hold all our harmonies in rounds. So the eternal life shall be planted among us in order to heal the world, to bring healing to all the world under the watchful eye of God. That's how I would translate that. V'chaye olam nata b'tocheinu, v'chaye olam nata b'tocheinu, litaken olam, litaken olam, litaken olam, b'malchut Shaddai, v'chaye olam nata b'tocheinu, v'chaye olam nata b'tocheinu, litaken olam, litaken olam, litaken Ken Olam B'malchut Shaddai. So often at this time, before we say Kaddish, at least in this week, we have been inviting a family member to speak, to share something of the memories or how something they'd like to share about Natalie's life or their memories and relationship with Natalie. And I think we're blessed tonight with some voices we haven't heard yet this week. And so I like to begin by inviting any family members that haven't been able to speak yet to share something with us before we say Kaddish. And then after Kaddish, we'll open it up for other family members, extended family, and all friends to share their thoughts, memories, and blessings. And you can unmute yourself.
Speak. I am. Disappeared out of the Zoom screen. Okay. I actually, Hallelujah, are you there? Do you feel like talking? I wanted to tell us a Hallel story of Mommy Nat.
I think she's going to let you tell it. Is that right? Thumbs up if you want Mom to tell it.
You can tell it.
No, you would do a better job.
I'm okay. Thank you.
All right. I'll start to tell it and then you can add to it if I don't do you justice.
Okay.
So Hallel is an avid fisher person. Avid. Joe, who used to help Mom at the lake, taught Hallel to fish when she was about, 5 years old. And she would fish there and she'd fish here and fish there, and wherever she could, she would fish to this day, to this very day. So when we would go to Florida, I've been to a lot of fishing holes that I never thought I'd ever be. And we went to Florida, we would always go to this pier or that pier. And Hallel actually was in a fishing contest here in Boynton Beach and met a buddy named Zev. And for many years, maybe 5 years, when they were down here, Hallel and Zev would go fishing from pier to pier to pier. So Mommy Nat, I think it has been said, was a very good sport. That is, I would say that is her epitaph. She was a good sport. And she would go to the piers with me. We'd leave Hallel at the piers. She would be terrified that we were leaving Hallel, but Hallel made friends with all the fishermen and would catch all these really smelly fish, she and Zev, and they would also come back smelling like fish till they caught the fish and wanted to come home and cook it. And that's where Mommy Nat drew the line. She would not let Hallel in the house reeking like fish to cook that fish. So they had some intense negotiations on whether they could cook the fish on the grill outside or inside the garage or somewhere to cook that fish. But that was where she drew the line. She would go to the fishing piers, but she was not going to let him in the house to cook that fish. Do you have anything to add to that, Goosey?
And she also one day told me, you can't bring the fish in, and me and my friend maybe had 10 fish, and she said there's some landscapers next door, maybe they'll appreciate it. And so it's like 80 degrees in Florida, and she's giving us plastic Ziploc bags to give these landscapers who are doing yard work next door to bring home, and she's like, oh, they'll appreciate it. And that didn't really seem super weird to me at 12, but looking back, like giving these random guys some fish I caught, because the person I was with also, his grandmother lived in Palm Isles in Florida, and she also was not going to let fish in her house. So we had to give them to the random people mowing the lawn. I bet it was out for a solid 8 hours in the heat in those plastic bags, but it was definitely the thought that counted.
Thank you. Any of the grandchildren want to speak with the mommy Nat story?
Okay, we have one story
Okay,
here.
so I'll speak. So I'm
So-
Nicole.
Nicole.
Yeah, I'm not a very good public speaker, so bear with me. So I was a very big Mommy Nat fan. Had a lot of affection for her, beautiful woman, very intelligent, lots of personality traits that people would love to have. And, obviously the thing that I love most about her, she gave me my husband, AJ. And I think that AJ has a lot of similarities to Mommy Nat, lots of positive personality traits. But I think the most important thing is her legacy lives on. And I think I've got 3 children, and each of them has a personality trait that I think is so indicative of a representative of Natalie. So my oldest, Michaela, has a creativity, a sense of style, sense of design. She loves beautiful things, just as Mommy Nat did. Ethan, my middle one, he has a sense of curiosity, an intellectual curiosity, interested in things, people, will speak to anyone, just like Mommy Nat. So hopefully that legacy lives on. And then my youngest, Nathaniel, he has that very calming temperament. Nothing phases him, very easygoing. And I feel Mommy Nat too has that. So hopefully with those 3 personality traits, her legacy can live on in my children. And I love her very much, and I'm going to miss her tremendously.
Stay tuned for the South African translation for those of you who didn't catch on. It'll appear on your screen. On your screen in just a moment.
We got all that loud and clear. That was great.
Beautiful.
So I'll say something if nobody else is going to speak. Am I on mute?
No.
No. Okay. It's interesting you say that, Nicole, because I was going to say this last night. Growing up, we didn't really see my father much. He was absorbed in his business and very busy. And so really Nat raised us. So I believe most of the qualities, if we got any, or if our grandchildren got any, it's because they came from Natalie. Mitchell had a certain way about him, and he would not agree with me at all. But I really believe most of our raising, if you say it right that way, because of that. So I got 2 other stories. One was, we know she liked to have a happy hour or have a cocktail here and there. And, she liked to have a good time, and she liked to make sure everybody else was having a good time as a hostess or whatever. So in 1973 or 4, Richard Gluck and I and Rachel and my grandmother Ella all went on the Modern Supply trip to Portugal. And it was a very big trip, a very exotic place, and a very special place. And in Portugal, they had a casino.
Guys, just so people who know that just explain what a Modern Supply trip is. There's a lot of people on here who haven't been here before.
Modern Supply is a company that sold a lot of things to contractors. So just as a side story, we would take these local yokel contractors all over the world, and they had a great time. And that was our incentive to do business with us. And so Natalie was always the great host. Eventually Karen became the great host, but Natalie was always the great hostess on these trips. And you can imagine taking some people from East Tennessee to Portugal, for example. But Portugal had, in Lisbon, they had a casino. And back then, when you went to casino, you had to be dressed up. And Richard and I were probably 15, and we couldn't get in the casino. We weren't of age. So Nat dreamed up a scheme. There were a couple of single ladies there that were, I think, Modern Supply employees. And she put a jacket and tie on Richard and I and put us on the arm of these ladies and marched us right in the casino with no questions asked, just because she didn't want us to miss out on the party. And if you fast forward about 30 plus years later, we were out to eat or something, and we'd all ordered a drink, and she turned to Asher, something to the effect of, "Why aren't you ordering a drink?" And Asher said, "Well, I'm 18. I can't drink." And she said, "Well, that doesn't matter. I approve. We're getting you a drink." So even though he wasn't 18, Mommy Nat wanted him to have a beer or whatever. So that was her nature, her manner, and she was very good about it. Back to you, Rays. Or
Let me just jump in here with two quick stories since about my mother and food. So one, I told this the other night. I don't even think Pace remembered this, but I have to tell this story between Pace and my mother. Pace was a very difficult eater. And my mother was pretty strict about, if the food's on the table, that's what you're supposed to eat. And Pace really grew up eating like Pop-Tarts and spinach souffle. That was about it. That was it. I mean, just didn't eat anything. And I don't know, most of you have mothers out there that would use this line. It's still used a lot, where you've got to eat. There's children starving in Africa. That was Natalie's line. And she just, yeah, there's always, mothers use that all the time. I'm sure you have one. And my mother was no different. And one day she just got really upset and said, "Pace, you have got to eat. There's people starving in Africa." And Pace said, "That's because they're feeding them this kind of food." And my mother, I thought my mother was going to get mad, but she just started laughing, dying laughing. And I think that's, that was indicative. She knew she had pushed too much. So second story, like many mothers, a mother can never see a child leave home without giving them some food. And I learned this lesson. I left at Knoxville when I was 18 and came to Atlanta to school. And that started my long journey of 40 years going back and forth from Knoxville to Atlanta. And over the years, I learned that once I was home, my mother would start hawking me about, "You got to take some food back." And I used to fight it. I just didn't want to carry it back. And finally, I just realized that this is a way a mother shows affection for children, right? You just got to take the food, whether you eat it or not, you just got to take it. Well, so I would just show up, and my excuse used to be I didn't have anything to carry back the food. Well, that turned in, I just brought a cooler home, and I'd put the cooler next to the kitchen counter, and I was usually home for a day or two, and she'd start, "What are you going to take back? I said, "Mom, it really doesn't matter. Just fill up the cooler. It doesn't really matter." But she had to ask me every time, "What exactly do you want?" I said, "I don't care. I know you're just going to put food in there that you want to get rid of." Well, I don't know about your mother, but my mother was someone who never gave food away. I never threw anything away either. So I didn't pay much attention to what she was putting in the cooler. But by the time I got home, the last time, the cooler was full of stuff. I looked at it, and you know how your mothers put those little dates on the freezer stuff? I literally had things that were 5 and 6 years old in my cooler. And she expected me to eat it. And of course, then started the couple of weeks of, "Have you eaten the food in the cooler?" And I had to tell her, I said, "Mom, you're really not supposed to eat things that are over 5 years old." But she was reserving those for me. But that's just how she was. And as you know, that's how a lot of a lot of moms show their affection is through food. And ours was no different. It was a little old, I must say, but it was no different.
Pace, I just want to know, this is how we knew she liked you the best, AJ. Pace, did mom ever pack a cooler for you? She never packed one for me. I'm just letting you know that.
She didn't even take me to college. She had AJ take me to college.
That's what I'm, that's how we
That is
knew.
a true story. I did take them to college.
So speaking of taking to college, I can tell you a story because I didn't really want to go to college. I had grown up in Knoxville. I was having a good time there. I was playing bridge with David Popkin. Where is he? And Barry Winston. We just had a bridge thing happening there. I just really didn't want to go to college. I would have been fine going to UT. And my mother was determined that I was going to go away to school. So I didn't know where to go. I said, Mom, I don't care. I don't really want to go. She said, well, how about this? We'll take a compass and we'll draw a circle around it and you'll be within a day's drive. I said, fine. So we, if you don't like it, we can come get you. So fine. I said, well, I don't really want to go farther south because I felt like I had traveled all over that for BBYO. So she took me on a road trip to see Indiana University, University of Ohio, and what's the other one? Oberlin in Ohio. What is that? That's in Ohio. That's the other one? We rode the whole way in silence. I was so mad that I did not want to go away to college. We rode the whole way. But when I got to Indiana, it was really pretty campus. And I said, okay, if I was going to go anywhere, I would go to Indiana. So she packed me up. I came home that summer. I did not want to go. She packed me up. She took me to college. I was going no matter what. And I was miserable the first year, and then I kind of got with the program. And I'm grateful to this day that she did that because, I don't know where I'd be, but she was determined to get rid of me, I think. That's really the truth, that I had to grow up and get out and grow up. So that's a college story that she was as sweet and genteel as could be, but she underneath there, she was a Taurus, it's kind of stubborn and ready to charge. And you just couldn't cross that if you got down underneath deep enough. So, anybody else with a story? Joyce, did you raise your hand? No. Okay. Anybody else with a story? I see a lot of people in this Zoom room that, we could say cottage and then, why don't we say cottage and then open it up? So all of you out there who did know my mother, be thinking of a story.
All right, so please join me in saying Kaddish for Natalie and for anyone else that you're remembering at this time. Yit Gadal, Yit Kadash, Yama, Dibra, Yamlich,
וחייכם וימיכם וחיי בית ישראל והגולה
Bagola, Bisman Kari, Bimru, Amen.
Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach Leolam Omei Omaya. Yitbarach, Yitzabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitzamam, V'yitnaseh. V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shmei Dekudesha.
Berechu.
Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran v'alma v'yamru. Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru. Amen.
Amen.
Shalom b'mama. Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol Yoshvei Tevel v'yamru. Amen. May the one who brings peace to all who mourn. Bring peace to the Robinson family as we mourn Natalie Levison Robinson. Together, let us say, Amen.
Amen. Amen.
So we're going to open it up. We can turn back on gallery view and open up the space for other people, for other memories. And I invite you to unmute yourself and share.
I'll say a couple things. It's Eli here. I've spoken quite a bit at this point, so if you're tired of me, go find another Shiva. A couple quick hitters about Mommy Nat and food. It's funny, as a Jewish woman, she didn't overfeed us, but a few things from my youth I remember from Mommy Nat and food. One, I think I was the youngest person to be exposed to the concept of sodium by their grandmother. See, Zadie had diabetes. And so when food was served, Mommy Nat was always very quick to let us know all the nutrition facts, especially sodium. And she was like, it's like salt, but salt tastes really good. And I just remember she couldn't, for the life of her, she couldn't really explain to us why we wanted to have low sodium, but we wanted to. Yigdal mentioned it the other day. That woman could not stand sodium, and she was trying to explain it to an 8-year-old, which is a 33-year-old. I'm not sure I still understand exactly how sodium works, but that's beside the point. She loved ice cream sandwiches. I alluded to it in my remarks. That was her treat, her go-to. Absolutely. And as I said, as long as she bought the Mayfield ones, everybody was really happy. Two more quickly. One, Mommy Nat always wanted me to be more cultured than I actually was. And that was like her grand plan. And I don't know if it was because of, what had happened with her 3 kids, but we took a trip to the Greenbrier one time, a family of us. And when it was like one of those places that had a fixed price dinner. And so we're not a big dessert family as a whole, but it was one of these things where everybody had to order a dessert, which was incredibly against what we would normally do. And I remember very vividly that one of the options every night for dessert on this fixed price was the cheese plate. And Mommy Nat always told me, if you were cultured, kind of like, you would want to end your meal with cheese. And every night I didn't, I got like the molten lava cake. But the last night we were there, I basically surprised Mommy Nat by telling the waiter or the waitress that I'd be getting the cheese plate. And just the nachas on her face, like, I finally have like cracked through, and they brought me that cheese and it was terrible. And I think I might've had one little thing of each of it. And it was really bad. But I just remembered for kind of like a 5-minute period of time, Mommy Nat felt like she maybe had made it as far as having a cultured grandson. The last thing I'll say, my dad mentioned, and this is a running joke you've probably heard. For those of you who live in Knoxville, you remember there was a Bonefish Grill up on Bearden Hill. And Mommy Nat loved the Bonefish Grill because she basically tried to keep kosher, and she would eat the fish at the Bonefish Grill. And they had fresh, non-seafood. So she could get halibut or salmon or whatever. So originally when we were growing up, it was the Macaroni Grill over more towards West Hills, but an Olive Garden with Uncle Reuben. But at some point for kind of, we'll say a 2 or 3 year period of time, that's where we would go. And at some point we got to the point where I remember her alcohol consumption, and we sit down at the bar. And this poor bartender, I don't know what his name is, and he's just been absolutely indoctrinated in our family as far as lore is concerned. He comes and he says, "Can I interest you guys in a drink?" And my grandmother, and of course, like I said, I wish I could do her voice, but we can all hear it in our head. "Well, I think I'll have a glass of wine." And the man looks at her and says, "Ma'am, we have an absolutely wonderful white Zinfandel." And I remember I was probably 14 at the time. So that response, this seemed like a very polite man to whatever. And Mommy Nat squares this guy up and says, "I don't want white Zinfandel. That's a drink for old people." Mommy Nat was about 85 at the time. And she or maybe probably 80. And she was like, no. And it was like this scourge in her mind that waiters and waitresses and bartenders always offered her the White Zinfandel. I guess because it's sweet, but we, to this day, as a running joke and an homage to Mommy Nat, anytime a wine list comes around, anytime a bartender comes around, anytime we're at the wine store, we'll always buzz right by that White Zinfandel and go, that is for old people. That is just not, Mommy Nat would never approve. So yeah, she had a fickle palate. And those unsurprising that for a Jewish grandmother, I remember so many of these idiosyncrasies about food, but those are some of those that'll stick with me forever.
Anybody else with a story?
This is Barry Bernstein. I'm going to jump in the pool following Eli. I have two stories. Years ago, when, to me, Mr. Robinson, never Mitchell, was here in Nashville in the hospital, I went by the hospital in the evening to see whichever Robinsons were there and try to offer some comfort or anything else I could provide them here in Nashville. And one night, Randy was there. She's Randy to me, and Natalie, and we went out to dinner. And Natalie was ready to go out to dinner. We went to a Mediterranean restaurant, and she sat down. She was in the middle at a table for four. Randy was on one side. I was on the other. The waiter comes up and says, "Can I get you something to drink?" And Randy, I want to say you ordered some kind of juice or something. It was a school night for me. I ordered club soda. Natalie looked to the left at Randy. She looked to the right at me and she said, "I'm having a drink." And she ordered a martini, I believe. And she deserved it that night. So that is story number one. The other story I want to tell is how Natalie was perceived. When I was in my 20s, I was here in Nashville studying for the bar exam, kind of alone in Nashville. And an uncle of mine died, and my parents were in Europe. And this was 1985, and you couldn't communicate all the time through one of these things. And I wasn't really sure what to wear. I was going to go to the funeral in another state, and I wasn't sure what to wear. I didn't really have any dark clothes. I had my law school interview suit, which was very pale gray with a little silk tie, probably horrible. And I wasn't sure I could wear that, and I didn't know where to get advice. So I called Mrs. Robinson and asked her for advice, and she assured me that I could wear a pale gray, sober suit to my uncle's funeral. So I went to the funeral. My parents made it back from Europe a couple of days later. And I told my father, who I see here in one of these squares, that I hadn't known what to wear, and I'd called Natalie for advice. And I've never forgotten what he said. This is a quote. He said, "Oh, that was the right thing to do, because of course, Natalie has impeccable taste." And that was true then, and it was true forever. And that's my memory of Natalie, or Mrs. Robinson.
Thank you. Unless, of course, you like tie-dye, and then our tastes diverge. But basically, most people would agree with you.
Well, I would agree. And I want to share a little impression of her because
Shiva, tell my
Natalie-
brother who you are.
Yeah, I will. Natalie and Mitchell were my Aunt Marion and Uncle Joe's, some of their best friends. And I was their niece who grew up in California, but I spent every summer in Knoxville, Tennessee on Cherokee Boulevard. And, Raizel, just hearing that your mom had passed and thinking about her, I knew her when I was a little girl, and most of you teenagers had gone off to college, like it or not. But I remember that your mother always had just great lipstick. That was the thing I was thinking about her, is like, she always showed up with great lipstick. And I don't know that I had the sense to know how good her fashion was, but when I think about her, that's what I think of, well put together. And I think she had I want to say patience. My aunt and I played a lot of like Boggle and Scrabble and games, and I feel like she would come over and kind of humor me. Like I was the kid who came in 10 years after everyone else. So although I don't have all the stories, I do have just this little piece of a kid whose aunt loved her. So
Thank you.
maybe she is trying on some rainbow lipstick now just for fun.
She could wear every color, just not all at once.
Hey, everybody. This is Paula Millen Miller. I'm an original Knoxvillian, but I've been gone about 50 years. So most of you remember me when I was a teenager, but I have to bring up the Millen family reunion because the big family that encompasses Natalie and the Levinson part of the family is my family, the Millens. And I've been gone from Knoxville, as I said, about 50 years. So I did leave to go to college. I couldn't wait to actually get away from my mother. So may she rest in peace. But I was ready to get away, and I did. But what I remember most was the lovely time we had out at the lake, the entire family. And I had visions of the pictures of this huge family that, honest to God, and I had no idea our family was that big at the time, because the Millen clan and the Levinson part of it, it was just so much fun. And I was on last night too, and someone who was talking about always talking about what a gracious hostess Natalie was. And she was a gracious hostess that weekend. We just had a blast. That was probably almost the last time I've been back to Knoxville, and probably the last time. But I do remember when my dad was very ill about 12 years ago before he died, how nice she was to him, and coming out to visit him. And I would hear stories about who he saw, and it always seemed to be Natalie called or Natalie came over. And so that always meant a lot to me. And then Randy, Razel, and all of you, Pace and AJ, who are, all of y'all are much younger than I am, but just sending lots of love and hugs through the Zoom windows, and hope to get to see you all someday. Maybe I'll get back to Knoxville one of these days. It feels like home on here. I mean, it's I came back tonight because I wanted to, and I enjoyed the service so much last night and being here, but it just felt like coming home. And that's a good thing when you've been sitting by yourself for the last 9 months in your house. So anyway, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you,
Love
Paul.
y'all. Bye.
Yeah, when my mother turned 80, in her early 80s, she decided to, she and I spent hours looking at pictures. She was on the archive committee at the Federation, and we spent hours looking at old pictures and labeling them, and just having the best time doing it. And in her early 80s, I guess 10 or 15 years ago, she was Sandy and Joyce, and coordinated 2 big reunions, one for the Robinson side of the family, that was his family she married into, and one for the Millens, which was her family, the Millens and the Levisons. So she was interested in family in a big way. Like, she had a good memory for family too. Very good memory for family. Anybody else?
Maybe we can jump in and make space for Yigdal.
Go for it.
Grandson.
So, yes, that's me. Thank you for repeating my name. We've touched on a couple things this week about my grandmother, just about how she really believed in people. Her and my grandfather were often, some of the first people to welcome, transplants to Knoxville, to invite them to their home, to, invite them to the synagogue. She did a lot of work in the community. She did a lot of charity work. So I really think she had just this really unwavering belief in the good that people were capable of, and in the change that people could make in the world. And for me, this personally manifested I had my own trials and tribulations in my undergraduate career. There was a semester I wasn't in school, and I had a part-time job, and I was not very happy. And she and I were in touch through this whole process, and she was always, we've touched on the interesting and interested. So she was always interested in what I was doing, even though I wasn't in school, even though I wasn't working on my degree. She wanted to know what I was doing. Well, what are you doing? And it wasn't just what am I doing in that moment at that time, but what's the bigger picture like too? Not just, well, you're here and how do you move on from here, but where are you going and what do you see for yourself? It was always more than, okay, hey, you're not in school. What do you got to do to get back in school? How are you going to get out of school? It was always, well, then what? Where are you going to go? What are you going to be doing for a career? Where do you want to be living? And, in a time for me in my life that was very difficult for a lot of reasons. And, for, if nothing else, just for the fact that I wasn't in school and all my friends were still in school and moving through school, it was like, a lot of times, a lot of self-doubt and a lot of, questioning things. And her confidence in me never wavered. She always knew that there was going to be some success for me to find. And she believed that, I think, in everybody that she came across. Just like I said, that unwavering ability to see the good in people and to really try to bring that out in the people that she interacted with. So that's what I got.
Anybody else?
Whoever's going to speak next, we gotta unmute is the only thing to remember.
Pamela, will you talk? Pam Brody, will you say a word? You got to unmute.
Well, I was trying to think. I don't really have stories. I just have recollections of spending the night with you, and we always joke that your mother was so ladylike and so always so put together, and that's the way my mother was too, and so soft spoken and gentle and ladylike, just like your mom, and we never could figure out exactly where we came from because we were both the total opposites of our mothers. But and I don't know. I think there's some of our mothers in us, but I think in you especially. But I remember I was going to say something else. Oh, well, I can't remember. I knew I would forget. I had other things I wanted to say, but I can't remember. Well, I was drinking some wine while I was talking, so that's why I can't remember.
We can come back to you.
Come back to me. I'll think of it later. Okay.
My grandmother would be proud. Cheers.
Yeah, I know. Here's to you, Natalie. I had a few glasses of wine with your mother. Hi, Hallel.
No, you're not.
No. Hello.
Hello.
I would like to follow my son, and see. It's so good to see Hallel and Yigdal and Emery and another screen. I'm reminded of the first time I came to Knoxville. Rez and I had met in December of '84, and she schlepped me to Knoxville for Passover. And I was worldly enough to know that there were Jews in different parts of the world, but never had I met the Mountain Jews. And so having a Passover Seder at your mother's house, your mother and your father's house, was really quite an incredible experience. My mother used to say, if you want to see what your wife is going to be like, look at her mother. Now, we could have a long excursus on that statement. We're not going to right now. But I just felt in Knoxville that weekend, just really welcomed into I'd say small W welcomed into a family. It took a while for my father-in-law to like I was like a northerner. I was not a business person. Both my brothers-in-laws, and I think Richard was there also, they checked out the label on my sports jacket that I was wearing, but I was welcomed to the family. And we used to every summer go back and forth between taking our kids to Canada and to Knoxville. I mean, we lived in Philadelphia because it was between two sets of in-laws. And later this week is going to be my father's yahrzeit, and we got the news here in this house. Natalie answered the phone when my brother called with the announcement that my father died, and that's going to be like exactly 18 years this week. And so over the years with, my father gone and my mother, we've gravitated, my Nat was the longest surviving of my children's grandparents. And so somehow I'm just grateful that she could be a grandmother in their lives for as many years as she was. And so I just, my appreciation to both the style of doing family of the Robinsons and also of Natalie being a grandmother to Hallel and to Yigal.
Simcha, what about when you had to face the Beit Din?
Well, Bernie is somewhere around, and Joe, and I'm trying to remember who was the third person on the Beit Din. Bernie, who was it? It was
maybe Ted Reback.
It was Ted Reback, right? So they had to check me out. Randy had brought home some guy, and he wasn't wearing a dress and he didn't have braids or whatever. So I was a cut above some of the previous boyfriends.
Now.
I whatever I could put on, I could fudge it with a sports jacket. But they had to check me out. So I think I passed the test. I don't know. We're the words not, but actually I think I said this, Natalie accepted me very, very quickly because she got that Reza and I were a good balance. It took Mitchell a lot longer.
Yeah.
Took me, that's another story for another time.
You could tell.
Tell him Mitchell's okay. So I'll tell him Mitchell's story. Slava died. Reza's grandmother died the year we got married. Actually, Mitchell and Ruben got up, said their last night of Kaddish on the Friday night of the Shabbos of our wedding. We got married on Sunday, and Mitchell and Ruben finished their Kaddish that Friday night. And so we got married in August. We came back Thanksgiving, and Mitchell and Natalie were very generous to us. I mean, sometimes we would help Natalie get a new car by taking her old one. And there was a television that was in Slava's apartment that Mitchell and Natalie were giving us. And, Pace, AJ, your father was still strong enough to schlep a TV, and it was 1985, 86. So it was a big effing TV. It was not a little TV. And we're carrying the TV like this. You'll forgive me. We're both carrying this heavy TV to the car. And he looks up at me and he says, "Just remember, you came to this family with nothing. And if you ever go, you go with nothing." And he loved me ever since then.
So that was a contrast between my mother and my father.
Right. Your mother accepted me right away. Your father must. There was a story. We were at your house for Passover. No, it was another. It wasn't a Passover. It was another year. It was what?
Is it a mom story?
The mom story.
Okay.
It was both your parents, but it was like you asked your mother if we could sleep in the same bed to get you bedroom together. And your mother said, "I don't think your father would like that." And you said, "How about after you're married?" were married, and your mother said, I don't think he would like it then either. She knew him. She knew him very well.
To drop off.
Anybody else with a Natalie story?
I'll tell you some reflections.
Good.
Can you?
Yes, we can hear you, Joyce.
Well, first of all, you guys are so generous telling your stories. Simply, that was just beautiful to hear the many sides. I loved hearing about Mitchell again. You asked me to mention the Robinson reunion. I think Natalie and maybe Sandy and I planned it. I can't remember exactly, and the guys. And we had a wonderful time doing it. We had a little bit of a struggle deciding where we wanted everyone to stay, because we were going out to the lake on Saturday, which was a really big part of what we did. But I had a really difficult time getting Natalie to accept the fact that maybe people wanted to see Knoxville, Tennessee, and how it had developed and how the downtown had developed, because it was just when Market Square was being revitalized and had come to life again. So that's what we finally decided to do. And we really had a great time. Just about everybody came that could, and it was a wonderful time. We also had a wonderful time planning it. The other story that was not a story, but a reflection I had, when your mom and dad lived in Sequoia Hills in the house there, Rita Green Wasserman and I, we were over there one day. She invited us over, and Rita's an artist. And your mom had a beautiful living room then. It was much more, it wasn't as casual as the living room at the lake was. And so she asked us if we would help her rearrange her furniture in the living room that day. And the three of us had the most wonderful time moving around all the stuff in the living room. I don't know, Rita and I left thinking, gosh, we had a good time, but did we go too far? But pushing our ideas. But that was just another reflection I had of long ago of Natalie. And I just want to add, when she was older and alone and living at the lake, Harold and I really enjoyed calling her up and going out to dinner with her. Sometimes with Sandy and Alfred, and many times we would just call Natalie, and maybe every 3 or 4 weeks we would do that. I loved it.
Thank you. All right, we'll take 1 or 2 more. If anybody out there in Zoom land has a story or a message or something that we haven't heard.
I'm going to go more, Razel.
You're doing what?
I'm going to go with one more.
Okay, 1 more.
Well,
Pace got the message when it's enough. Pace got that, Gene. I didn't get that one.
I'm going to give you the hook. Joyce, I think she really enjoyed those dinners too when you guys came out to get her or met her somewhere those last few years. I think she treasured those. But okay, when I was turned 18, Richard, I think Richard's still on here. Richard and Mark Saroff and Heidi Ross and I went out to celebrate my birthday. And if you remember, in Knoxville, there was a dinner theater way out on Kingston Pike beyond Fox Den. It was like a barn or something. It may have been the Barn Dinner Theater or something like that. So we went to the theater for my birthday, and the play that was being shown was Fiddler on the Roof, of all plays in Knoxville. And long story short, we had a little too much to drink before we went to the play. After all, then the drinking age was 18. So we go in to see the Fiddler on the Roof play, and naturally we know all the songs. We're singing along with the play, with the actors. Shortly thereafter, we were escorted out of the dinner theater because we were too loud and we were ruining the show for the rest of the people that had come to watch. So we celebrated my 18th birthday, and I came home, obviously having had too much to drink. And I walked up the stairs, and there's Natalie standing at the top of the stairs with her hands on her hips. Like, where the hell have you been? And you know, we all know she was very nice and graceful. I told last night about the story with Uncle Reuben where she got mad and Uncle Reuben kicked me out of the hotel room. But thankfully Dad was asleep. But I was waiting for that rare wrath of Natalie to let me have it for drinking too much or whatever. Somehow, and Razel would call it angel, AJ and Randy were there. It must have been Passover or something because my birthday's on Passover. And they came to my rescue and convinced Natalie that he's okay, let him go to sleep. And, you know, she, just like somebody else said before, instead of being mad, that just demeanor just changed. She started smiling and I was okay. But that was my 18th birthday. So thank you, AJ and Randy, for saving me. Do y'all remember that?
I don't, but you had a wilder life with Mom. Drinking all the time. Sounds like you were in much more trouble than I was. I don't know how that's possible.
I remember the Fiddler on the Roof.
You remember that?
I want to say something.
That was fun.
Is it getting too long? I wanna refute all you kids who saw Natalie in a very humorous way. Natalie, as you know, was a very dear friend of mine for 60 years. And as well, as much as being fun and pretty and graceful, and she was also so reliable. We went through life, and I mentioned this in that little poem I recited. You couldn't do anything unless you did it together. When it was time to teach Sunday school, and Joyce, you remember this, we all taught Sunday school and helped each other. When it was time to have a bazaar, you were, whatever Natalie wanted you to chair, you chaired. The dining room, the this, the that, or the other. We always helped each other. Someone took the credit for mobile meals, but that's how I first bonded with Natalie. We drove mobile meals for years together regularly and talked. And she always knew the way. I never knew which way to turn. Natalie knew. There were other things that I can't remember right now, but if there was a job to do, she might have lightened it up with a drink, and so did I, but she was loyal. And archives. We've done archives together. Every job I had to do or she had to do, it was nice to do it together. And I will miss her terribly. I will even tell you, a number of people have called and offered me condolences. And I appreciate it because it is very hard for me too. I will miss her terribly. That's all.
I see that Carolyn Shipper is on here.
Looking just like her mother.
And Carolyn, I want you to mute. You said the nicest thing about Knoxville and the community to me in an email, and about how, use your words, but it was kind of like how even when you leave Knoxville, you're in the Knoxville diaspora, and there was a community of people that helped raise you. But I'll let you say it in your own words.
I think, thanks for remembering. You probably remember better than I do. But yes, I was thinking, as this season we have lost too many people, and I was going to tune in for the Shiva for Marilyn Cohen Presser. I was thinking about it and just realizing how much I was still so connected to Knoxville, like Paula just said. it's home. It's just that place that's home. And so there's this diaspora of people, all over the country, certainly, but who still are so connected to Knoxville. And I was thinking that it feels, as I thought more about it, like a cocoon. You were raised in this cocoon where the community of parents and friends and whatever were sort of always there looking out for you. You still got to grow up, but there was this real sense of community cocoon. In fact, I just remembered a story as I was saying this now very quickly. This is about Sybil Jaffe, and I honestly don't know if she's still with us or not. Well, may she rest in peace. But shortly after I turned 16, my parents were out of town, and I had a car accident while they were out of town. I was driving to the grocery and had a couple of my siblings with me. And Sybil recognized the car and stopped and, took over basically, and said, well, I'm driving you to the airport. We're not going to tell your parents about this until they see that you're healthy and fine. And, and that's what we did. My parents see Sybil's there. Oh, nice to see you. Why are you at the airport? And then there we go. But anyway, it was this cocoon. So Marlene passes on memories of being at the lake house with you guys. I mean, I don't have the firsthand memories that much, but I was talking to my sibs about it in the last couple of days. And, Bruce and Barbara and Ronnie, they were all compatriots of you and your siblings. So fond memories, and we will miss her. So condolences from my whole family, including my mother, who's got, thank God, still going strong. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say she was a pillar of the Knoxville community.
Yeah.
I think we can give her that.
Yeah.
I'm Lainey Millen. I'm a cousin. For those of you who don't know who I am. I worked with Natalie on that Millen family reunion. There were like 4 or 5 of us that worked on that. And it was such a pleasure getting to know her as not me, the little kid, and her, the adult, because when I came to Knoxville growing up, there weren't a lot of kids my age. All of them were, most of the family had older kids. So I would stay with Randy, Razel, and I'd stayed with you, Paula. I'd stayed with Emily Shersky and a few others, but not too many of us at that age group. And she always made me feel like I was one of the kids. And I think that's a Millen thing, because if I was doing something that I shouldn't be doing or whatever, she jumped in like my mother. Don't do that. She was, you can't eat on that plate, because we didn't keep kosher and y'all did. So you can't use that plate. You can't, so she was always like that. But I remember 2 times staying with at your house, and how comfortable she made me feel. One was the weekend of your grandpa Jaime's unveiling. And I don't know why my mother packed my suitcase and then didn't pack a skirt or a dress for me. But after the unveiling, we went to your grandparents' house, for a meal afterwards. Everybody's like in suits and dresses and everything. I'm in shorts. So, but your mother, made sure that I didn't feel uncomfortable about that. And I also stayed there after my sister Joan's wedding. They shipped me off there and had me stay for a couple of days with you and your family too. But one thing I remember about your mother's mother, Ella, was she would say, "Hello, how are you?" And she just had that. She instilled that so much in your mother, to have that open, kind of languaging, like it was always upbeat, it was always fun, rather than hello, it was always hello, engaging. So,
Thank you, Lainey.
yeah, so.
Thank you. Okay, so we are, oh, Larry, you got your hand up?
Yes. I've really enjoyed watching these Shivas these last few nights. I had the pleasure, privilege to be at the service as well. Your mom, I always thought was just so beautiful and so kind and so sweet. And I always remember she always had a big smile on her face. Just a friendly smile. It was like whoever it was, she would always give a big greeting and a big hello, how are you, how are your parents, how's your mom doing, something like that. So my parents were good friends with your parents, maybe a year or two younger, but they used to celebrate their wedding anniversaries together several years to go out to dinner, I think with the Goodsteins and the Kaplans. I think they were all married in 1951. And I was thinking about how long ago was 51? It's 70 years now. And so thinking about some of the old times and your mom and my mom did a lot of the same kinds of things. Your mom was active at the synagogue. My mom was real active in the temple. They were both interested in Hadassah, the Federation. They were always working together on various and sundry things. The other thing I remember was every year I would be going with my parents, especially my father was still alive, to the annual APAC dinners. And I don't know if those have been mentioned this week or not. But the APAC dinners at the Modern Supply second floor, and the Knoxville APAC dinners were known all over the country because for a relatively small city, we had 100, something maybe 150 people there, and they raised an incredible amount of money. And I always thought that the reason that it was so successful was because the hostesses and the hosts of the dinner were the Robinsons and the Goodsteins and earlier days, the Miles Siegel and Zelda and others. And my mother was always contributing to the dinner, and the women always baked their finest desserts. And there was just an endless supply of beautiful cakes and mandel bread and whatever. And it was just the dinner was basically a deli dinner, but there was homemade kugels and the desserts and wine and appetizers. And it was like a party. And your mom, Natalie, was the hostess. It was at her place at Modern Supply. And so every year, so many people gathered, people from all parts of Jewish Knoxville, unaffiliated people. And I know sometimes they finally said, well, you got to give money to come. This is a fundraiser. You can't just come and eat the good food. But we all had a great time. And I will always remember fondly your mom, and we had a lot of good times at the Robinson house as teenagers. I remember that for sure. So my condolences to all of your family, and I will hold on to my good memories of our youth, particularly, and I hope that you will all always remember her voice. I think I told you the other day, I still hear my mom telling me what to do, yelling at me. So put happy pictures all over the house, put them on the refrigerator, and remember all your good times. And I know your family had many, many, many good times. And I just hope that those memories you'll be able to treasure and always remember the good times.
Thank you. Speaking of pictures, I'm going to ask Asher to sort of close us out with a final song and just a piece of the montage that he's put together. You see this picture behind me? Just last summer, when she saw me, she just put her hands out. Ash, you got music or no?
You're engraved upon my hand. You reside within my heart. Memories are in my mind. You are with me always. Comings and goings, living in the unknowing, beginnings and endings. I'm glad we've had this time. I love you, thank you, forgive me. I'm grateful for what you've given me. I'm with you always. Comings and goings, living in the unknowing. Beginnings and endings. I'm glad we've had this time. Grateful for this time with you. Grateful for what I know is true. The love between us will remain. You are with me always. Comings and goings, living in the unknowing. Beginnings and endings. Glad we had this time. Keep it love, it's a bad life, teach forever cold comings and goings, living in the unknowing, beginnings and endings. Glad we had this time. I'm glad we had this time. I'm glad we had this time. Comings and goings, living in the unknowing.
Thank you, Asher. Really did a great job. So thank you everybody for being here. We will be here one more official night of Shiva. And if you want to join me for the next month, I've invited a variety of different rabbis and spiritual leaders to lead something. It may not be traditional, it may not be a whole service, it may be poetry, music. I just told them to do whatever they wanted, as long as I could find 10 people and say Kaddish. So It'll be at 9 p.m. because I have a lot of friends on the West Coast who just said, can you do it a little later so we can eat dinner? So I know it'll be tough for AJ to stay up, but maybe we'll sing you a lullaby to bed. I'll hang out here for a little bit and just talk if anybody wants to talk and share a story or anything. And if not, we'll call it quits for tonight. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here.
Sure, Laura.
AJ Pace, you want to say
Do we
anything?
Georgia election update?
Yes, what's happening?
What happened,
Going to
Ethan?
be a long night. There's
Okay.
about 70% of the vote in, and it's just going to be really tight. A lot of votes still out.
Have they said anything?
Too close.
Too close to call.
Too close to call.
And
Nobody's got
like
a,
the blue side.
nobody's got a big lead or anything?
Republicans have a small lead at the moment, but
Right.
we'll have to see.
That's
Still a lot of votes out in the Atlanta area, which is critical, but as many of you know, the rest of Georgia is pretty red.
But that includes the pre-vote?
Yeah, it's all mixed together now. It's all
But you
mixed
said the
together.
Republicans have a little bit of a lead now,
Right at the moment.
and they've already counted the early votes.
It looks like they've counted most of the early votes, except there's a couple of Savannah, Chatham County, DeKalb, a lot of Gwinnett County still out. So these are counties that are traditionally Democratic. So it's just going to be a long night, or maybe could be a whole week. Who knows?
We just need to pray to Shekhinah.
I love that.
He's got it.
They got the Shekhinah prayer.
AJ, how many kids do you have?
Pamela, I just have to thank my friends, Mark.
Okay. And I wanted to say,
yeah, I just need to thank
beautiful.
them for jumping in here and singing and lending their presence and their voices. I just really, really appreciate it, girls. Thanks for holding us.
You know, I just want to say before we say goodnight, we told the family in the beginning, but we'll just say we actually, the ways that we knew Natalie over these last 30 years have been very meaningful to us too. And it's really a privilege to hold her memory along with you all.
I don't know, somewhere to Randy, I guess. She's known her for 30 years, so.
Yeah.
Philly?
Ethan, you pray to Shekhinah and it'll bring us home, buddy.
Exactly. To the promised land.
Mm-hmm.
All right. See you tomorrow night.
Good.
That was beautiful service. Thank you.
Hey, Pam.
Uh-huh.
You made it.
Hey, Dina. I don't know why it wasn't working. I think it was I use a different app to do evaluations, and I think it was using the camera
Pam,
on the other app.
So young, I have to tell you.
I look so young. Oh,
your skin is amazing. You must use Lancome.
Listen to me. No, if you could see me up close, it's like an ancient crone. I don't know. You look like you always look. This is like a BBYO reunion, isn't it?
It is.
And is Barry Bernstein still on here?
I think she vanished.
Did she go? I used to babysit for her. And Barbara doesn't even remember.
I did too.
Who's saying I did too?
Paula.
The old lady who was born in 1951. So I know exactly how many years you were talking about 1951. Oh, 70 years? No. Yes.
I was born in 52.
Okay, well, you're right.
I wasn't even born yet.
Little sister right behind me. Razel, I have to tell you, do you remember, oh my God, I'm forgetting her name. She's a friend of mine. Ellen Schlossberg from IU. Vaguely. She was from a small town, and she's a friend of mine here in Memphis. And I was talking to her last night, and I was telling her what I had been doing. And she said, well, who was it? And I said, well, it's not anybody you know, but it's my cousin from Knoxville. I said, her name used to be Randy Robinson. And she just stopped dead in her tracks and said, I went to school with Randy Robinson. Did she move to Canada after school or something? I said, that I don't know, but you did, because I went
I
and looked
did.
it up.
Yeah, I did.
I went and looked it up, and I'm like, what a small world. But she did say she was from a small town in Ohio. Is that where? Yeah, Indiana. I don't know, but I think it was Schlossberg. So she sent her
name sounds
condolences
familiar,
via me because she knew you really well. She said,
She
I
did.
think y'all
I have to Facebook her and look her up. Do some research in case she calls me.
she was she might have been a year. Are you Karen's age or are you Pam's age?
I'm
She's a year younger.
I'm,
Well, you're not really a year younger, but when's your birthday?
I'm 53.
Okay, you and Karen, same age, my sister. So, who was here last night? And I think she was here 3 nights actually. I totally forgot about it one night. And then anyway, what was I going to say? Anyway, I think that maybe Ellen was a year behind you because she's a year younger than I am. Anyway,
I'd like to say hello to Conrad. Conrad, can you hear me?
I know Conrad.
I
I
know.
haven't seen you in a long time. It's nice to see you.
Conrad Kohler, I
Nice to
remember
see
you from Memphis because I'm friends with Sarah and Steve Kaplan. You were their neighbors.
Oh.
Do you remember
Oh,
that
right.
on Winter Hall?
Yes,
Did you live
I
on Winter
remember.
Hall in Memphis? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah and Steve
Very
Kaplan,
nice.
you live down the street from them. They're my best friends. Yeah.
Is Cindy Kaplan still here? She said she was going to put her mother on. I haven't seen she.
No, she didn't come back.
Oh,
No,
okay.
it's anyway.
I was waiting to see her. Good night, you all.
Good night.
Good night. Good night, Barbara.
Nice to see
Good
the
night,
Burns
Bernie.
too. And everybody. Well, I guess I should go to sleep. It's got a long.
Have you been
Much
working,
past my
Paul?
bedtime.
I'm working yes, I am.
At
Thank
home?
God. Job still. Yes.
At home.
Yeah, I'm working really hard because I'm trying to keep this organization afloat right now.
Oh my God. Conrad, how are you?
Anyway.
I'm doing good.
You're doing good. Conrad and I went to school together.
Did you really?
I finally retired.
You finally retired. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. What are you doing with yourself?
Officially.
Well, I'm headed off too. Good night,
When you
everybody.
leave, you got to come in when the COVID's gone.
I'm going to come in because I need to come see my uncle, who is now.
I know. I
old.
just found something, a dollar bill. I was looking through some of Daddy's stuff. That was a dollar bill that Monty signed, and I was going to send y'all a picture. I have to ask him what I haven't talked to him so long. I have to ask him what it's about. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Conrad. I just wanted to see.
Call
No,
him.
that's
We would
okay.
really love to hear from you. I mean, he's 90. You should call him sometime.
Oh, I know. I was thinking that. I never talked to him.
I try to call him, but he's getting, he's starting to lose it a little bit, and it's really hard. My uncle Monty, my dad's brother. Monty,
How old is he?
He was born in 30, so he's 90.
He used to tell me when I was a little girl, he used to say when I grew up, I was going to marry him. And I used to go, oh no. I was so freaked out because I thought I was going to really have to marry him. And I thought he was this old man.
Well, there's still a chance he never got married.
Well, there you go. And I'm divorced.
Yeah, well, there you go, Pam.
That's about the size of the population, the available population.
Well, don't come to Memphis, not much better.
No, I'm not looking. I don't want to shave my legs. But who's on here? I can't see everybody. I need to shut up.
Yeah, I don't know everybody, but anyway,
Paul
yeah.
Monty was a good sport. A few years ago, I asked him for a DNA sample. So I've got his DNA up on the family tree site trying to find
Monty's.
matches.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, do you really? He told me about that. He told me.
That's awesome.
Yes, he
Randy.
did. Did you get Norman's too, or just Monty? I guess Norman's the youngest brother, Norman.
I got his.
They're hysterical to listen to because
Is he still alive?
Monty? Yes. Norman is younger. Yeah, he lives in New Orleans.
I probably
He's
get
10
it.
years younger than my dad. My dad would have been 94, 95. I can't. He was born in
Can you give me
26.
his address? I'll send him a DNA thing. That would be great.
Yeah, I'll get it to. I'll email it to you.
Yeah, you should do it before he dies.
I need. Yeah, that's 2 places I've got to go. Well, I've had the first vaccine, so.
Have you?
I got really lucky.
First vaccine.
Huh?
How'd you get the first vaccine?
Because they messed up here in Memphis, and the second day they gave it. Well, number one, I'm going to be 70, so I'm almost in the actual real category, and notwithstanding, I have a very serious heart problem, from birth. So, but that's not why I got it. Why I got it was because somehow or another, the rabbis, I understand, not my rabbi, because I go to conservative, but the Orthodox rabbis sent out an email and said they heard that there were extra vaccines. And so, in a Jewish community, how that just spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
Well, it spread through Memphis. And somebody called me and said, Paula, you need to get down there right now and get that vaccine. And I'm like, what? They said, yeah, they have extra doses. This was the second day they were giving it.
Which one did you get?
The Moderna. The first responders. So I went and got in line. They were turning people away, and they looked at me and they said, do you qualify? And I said, well, I'm an RN. Here's my license.
You are.
I didn't lie at all.
No.
I just said, I'm an RN. And they said, okay, go ahead. I'm like, okay. So my boyfriend was with me, and he's like, I'm not going to get it, am I? And I'm like, no, you're not.
Not looking good.
Not looking good for you. But anyway, so we pulled up further, and the next security guard said, so tell me, where's your name badge? We need to see your name badge. I said, I don't have a name badge. I've never heard of such. I said, well, I can show you my picture on the internet. And he just said, okay, just go on. Just go.
I was going to say, surely didn't make you do that.
They're just telling me to go on. I never told a lie. So I felt guilty. I don't feel guilty anymore. You can tell I still feel a little guilty. But we rounded the corner. They gave me the forms. I filled out the forms. And they said, probably the nurse will turn you down. The nurse never asked me a question. She said, who's getting the shot in here? And I said, I am. And I started talking. I was a nurse, and, we started chatting. We were complaining about how poorly people were giving injections, that their techniques were horrible on the TV. I mean, I've just been cringing watching people give injections. So long story short, she said, she looks at Hal and she goes, I'm in the back seat. I haven't been in the car with him in 9 months. I'm in the back seat. Windows are open, and the whole time we're probably fighting because he kept wanting to turn around. And I kept saying, no, we're not doing that. We're going to try. We have nothing else to do. I was on vacation. We had nothing else to do. So long story short, the nurse gives it to me and she looks at Hal and says, are you getting the shot? And he said, no, I don't qualify. And she said, do you want the shot?
Wow.
Yes. And she said, here, fill out this paper. And she gave it to him.
It must be the ones that they found extra doses in the bottle or something.
Well, what happened was not enough first responders had showed up. And so they were going to have, this is what we heard through the grapevine, they were going to have to throw them out. So they have to get rid of them. They have to give them. And so people are starting to go now. They figured it out. Well, right now they have those sites closed, the drive-up sites. This was a drive-up into the tent site. So they, the drive-up sites, anyway, what I'm trying to say is, I forgot already, is the people are now going like at the very end of the day to see if they have any.
That's what Peter said I should do, is go to the health department, because some people are not going to show up probably. I don't know why. You'd think.
Well, it was so discombobulated the first day. They had sign-ups, but nobody knew how to sign up. It was not very well publicized. It wasn't very, it was done very poorly. I'm volunteering, and this is how I made myself feel better. The Jewish guilty person here, that I worry about everything, but Pam knows that. Pam.
My middle name is Guilt.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I'm going to volunteer as soon as I get the second one and I have immunities built up, and go down and give injections. So, I feel that's the way I can give back, because I do have a full-time job, but I do it on the weekends. And
Paula, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Dina Saroff.
Oh my God. I see Dina, but I didn't know who that was.
I knew you. I didn't think so, but I want to say hi. It's been so long.
I can't see your eyes though. You got to put your.
No, you can't see the top of your head, Dina.
There you are. Oh,
okay, is that better?
Yeah, that's good.
I know probably Razel wants to go to bed.
Razel.
It's Randall Thane.
Go to bed.
I ran into
Razel, like Hazel, but I don't care. I like Razel.
She'll answer to anything.
I like Razel. People call me all kind of things.
Accent myself.
I do want to tell you, Randy, another thing about your mother that, and I want other people to know it, that when my mother was, she was starting to lose it. Your mother was always so nice to her. She was always so sweet to her. We went out to eat some, and she was always just so kind. I don't know, it really hit me hard that your mom died. And I think it's because it was like, well, Dina and I were talking, it was like a end of an era, It's
Well, it
and it's
is.
like my mother died or something,
It
Well,
is.
it's hard.
sad. I was wiped out with that after the funeral. It was beautiful, the stuff you said.
It was, wasn't it? It was beautiful. I was
It
there.
was really sweet.
Considering that I sat at, I was by her side at the hospital the last 3 days, all dressed up in hazmat. I don't know if she knew. One of the days she might have known it. I was there. The others, I'm not sure. But, I was talking to her, I was singing to her. And I said, Mom, I bet I'm going to tell some stories about you. And like I sat there and I talked into my phone and just sort of had some memories. So she heard what I was going to say about her. And then that night I had so anyway, that night I go home and we had bought these, I told you about this, Pam, an Amazon Echo. And you just put Amazon Show. It's like a baby monitor, and you put it on your phone if you want to see what's going on in the room. You can just turn it
Like a
on.
nanny cam, right?
Pam. And I was sitting there and I was just breathing with her and hanging out with her from my brother's house, after I left. And that night I was up to about 3 a.m. with her. And, it's like, when do you turn it off, right? And a nurse came in and held her hand, and I said, okay, she's not alone now. I guess I can go to sleep. So I went to sleep, and 3 hours later, Rhonda was banging on my door trying to wake me up because she had died. And my brothers called Simcha, and they had to make arrangements, and I had just gone to sleep. So Rhonda came over to get me, to tell me to wake up. But why was I telling you this? I was telling you this for some other reason. For what?
About telling stories.
Where are you, Randy?
I'm in Florida.
Oh, are you?
I drove
Drive back.
I left I did the funeral, and then I was there for 2 nights, but Pace wouldn't let me in his house because I had been exposed to COVID. So
I don't blame him, truthfully. I wouldn't let you in.
I don't blame him either, but I was in my mother's house, and the Wi-Fi is not hooked up. So it's one thing to be, Simcha was with me, but it's one thing to not have family around for Shiva. It's another thing to be told you can't come in my house. And then it's a thing to have no Wi-Fi. So Simcha and I got on a plane, what day?
Oh, good.
Sunday. And just came down to her. She has a condo down here. So we're hanging out here. So
Well, I'm glad you're not by yourself.
Go ahead.
yeah, he's here for a week or 2. I don't know. He'll decide.
That's good.
So, are you going to drive back? Your
I
car's
have
there.
to drive back, yeah. I have to drive.
Gosh, would you?
Where's your car in Atlanta? I guess it's in Atlanta because you.
No, I drove. So I left. Where do you hear this story, Paula?
You're just, Paul. I mean, really.
Where do you hear this story?
She doesn't have good sense.
I went to Virginia, stayed with a friend, went to Knoxville, stayed with Pace and Karen on the way down, went to Atlanta, did not get in to see my mother, and then learned she had COVID, so I couldn't hang around.
I saw that all on Facebook.
Okay, and then so anyway, I don't know who I've told what. So I drove to Florida and left my car
by
here.
By herself.
And then they said, come back. And I came back to Atlanta, was there for another 4 days, drove to Knoxville, then flew back to Florida.
By herself.
I'm feeling, I hope I don't have whiplash.
You can swim and stuff, right?
Yeah, I went swimming.
It's I don't have to tell you, but I'll tell you because, the mother in me and the nurse in me, to take care of yourself.
Right.
In this process, because you've been through a lot.
I have been through a lot, is right.
Been through a lot. And it's not, it's not ending. And I mean, this next month's hard. Having, you've done it also with your dad, but you didn't do it like this, the traveling. I did the traveling back and forth to Knoxville, and it was hard. Just that part was hard, back and forth. And I missed my dad. I missed him dying because I had to go, because I'm such a workaholic. I had to come back to Knoxville, fly back to Memphis to finish a job that I was doing. then he died. And I was coming back the next morning, and he kept asking Karen, when is Paula coming?
You
When
were
is Paula
so good to your daddy, though.
And
You were
then,
so good to
God,
him.
if he didn't die in the middle of the night before I got there. So when I get off the plane, I mean, it just brings back the memories. He had died. But, you know, Natalie was always seeing him when he went to the hospice house and he was in rehab and he was trying to get better and all that kind of stuff. And your mom was, I would hear from him, you know, Natalie's here, but oh no, Paula had to come back and work because she was so responsible for this little part-time job she had at the time and the family she had that turned out.
You were a good daughter. You were
You
really
know
good.
what, Paula?
My dad,
Sometimes
you know,
they can't go with you there. Like sometimes if you had been, you know, they can't go. They have to wait till you leave.
well,
Like,
that's what because Karen went home with her boys and he died in the middle of the night. Y'all want to know what he had for dinner the night
Yeah.
before?
Something bad for him.
Oh my God, not only bad for him, I mean, but bad, period. If I want to remember, it was he wanted ham and something like that, or a pork chop or something. He had a friggin' pork chop or something like that. Now, he didn't keep kosher or anything.
Oh, no.
He grew up kosher and all that, but I just thought, and they said that, you know, the people in the hospice house said he ate a really good dinner.
Oh.
Anyway, I'm sorry, Randy. It's not. I'm taking this away from you, but
look,
the
It's
point
all,
is
they're all together.
really, really hard. And when you've done all the traveling and put all, you know, all the stress on your body, you know, we're not spring chickens anymore.
tell me about it. No, I made it through all that. I don't know how I made it through all that.
Well, you just have to, at this point, and I think you're probably pretty good about doing that because of how you run your life and what you do as a career.
I think I want to I'm going to swim every day and take a walk every day and eat in between and not do much else.
You want to talk about your mom eating? I was going to say this. Your mother, every time I was around her that she ate, she never ate anything. You all always split an entree. I was like, I could have eaten the whole thing. I don't understand how you all could just eat. She would always just eat a little tiny, delicate bit.
No, but it was constant.
It was.
It was fairly regular.
You all always split.
You know, you heard all the people talking about they went to lunch with Natalie.
Yeah.
You guys see this picture? So this picture,
Great. That picture is awesome.
last summer when I hadn't seen her for 6 months, I saw her 4 or 5 times a year. I'd fly down there,
or drive down.
No, I didn't drive. I would fly. I only flew.
You drove from Philly to
only last summer because of COVID, and only now because of COVID. But before I'd go regularly every few months. So I hadn't seen her for 6 months, and this was what she put that. She was so glad to see me. Like,
that was so awesome. That picture is just amazing.
It's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey ladies, I'm gonna head out. Are you gonna post like the stuff you're gonna have? I'm not gonna build.
I'll figure out how to send it out once I get it organized. That's the other thing I'm trying to do.
I can't believe you're this organized. It's amazing to get all these people together.
Well, I know what I need, and if I nobody's going to give it to me, and I have to just set it up myself. That's how I feel about it.
What year was Yigdal born?
Oh, she's asking you a question. What year was you?
1990.
Oh, what, 1990 in Hallel?
Hallel is 98. 6/14/98. Are you doing their numerology or something?
I've never met them, and I know that you had Yigdal at some point when I was feeding Avital in a high chair because you came over.
I did?
Avital was born in 88, and you came to see me. I was feeding Avital with Pam in Knox.
Where do you live, Dina?
What?
Where do you live?
Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, wow.
Is Aryeh still sitting next to you?
Yes, he is.
You should introduce him.
This is my husband, Aryeh Mursky.
Hey.
Parents of many, many grandchildren, and they are.
Tell him how many grandkids you have. And I have none.
6, Bli Ayin Hara, so far.
Wonderful. Mazel tov. That's great.
Thank you.
I tried to hook it up.
Did you have an earphone before?
Okay. It's now I'm going to go because I have to deal with
Love
my
you,
dog.
Paula.
I love you, Pam.
Paula.
Oh, Randy, love you.
Pam, I'm so glad I twisted your arm to be on here.
Oh, and I enjoyed it. I had
I
fun.
knew you'd have fun.
I mean, I didn't have fun. I don't mean like that, but I mean,
You
I
know,
enjoyed it.
And I
Because
got to see
you know-
Carolyn Shipper Alpert was my best friend. Second to Pam. Pam was like my little sister. I tortured her, but
you were a bully.
Carolyn was like, we were like best friends, and she said, "Let's talk. How come we haven't talked in the last?" And every now and then we'll just talk, and it's like we've never missed a beat. It's the God's honest truth. It's that connection or whatever.
It's so weird. You can talk, you can Zoom. It's like you talk to people I haven't talked to in such a long time. It's in years and years. It's
BBYO reunion. Were you at the BBYO? Were y'all too young? Y'all weren't in the group that we had that BBYO reunion. It was right before my dad.
Dina was too young.
Dina was too young.
Well, you were there, weren't you, Pam?
Put them all on the list now.
Yeah.
I have the list. So I put Dina.
We should have another one before we all bite the dust.
When Lisa Cohen just did a Shiva for her mother on Zoom, and Dina and her age group were on there, and I've put them all on the BBYO list now.
Okay.
Oh,
We
that's
should.
good.
When I go, somebody else is going to have to organize the world.
Well, somebody younger, because I'm not in the organizing business anymore.
me neither.
Do it.
Dina will do it.
That was
young.
fun. That was a fun weekend too. That BBYO thing was hysterical. I mean, it was fun.
It was fun.
God.
I wish we have like a regional convention reunion or something.
Well, you know, when you live in Memphis, because nobody ever left Memphis, nobody Jewish ever left Memphis. And they're all just, when you come here, it's not like you fit in, you never fit in. I've been here 30 something friggin' years, since 1976 or 77 or 78 or 79, whatever. I was 29 when I moved here, or 28.
Oh, wow.
I'm 70. So I've been here 40 something years. And you just can't fit in here, and everybody's related to everybody. I'm surprised. I'm just always shocked. I'm like, well, we're all related, but we didn't. I don't understand how these people are related, and they all intermarried into this community, and it's a weird place. I have always felt like Knoxville was home, and if there had been medical care for me in Knoxville, I probably would have left here a long time ago. I may not have gone to Knoxville, but I'm not going anywhere now. I'm too old to move.
Yeah.
I have no energy. I couldn't clean this place up if I tried. When I moved in here after I divorced Jay, and I moved around 5 times before I found this place, I didn't really clean anything out. I just grabbed. I've never cleaned out Pam, you're going to love this. I have never cleaned out my old house that he's still living in.
That's all right. He deserves it.
Come over and get the shit. And I'm thinking, we've been divorced how many years now? And you have not thrown my stuff out? What is your problem? It's all there.
Oh, well.
I don't want any of it anymore.
Did he ever get married?
God, who'd want him? No.
No, don't want him.
No, that's not very nice. No,
It's okay. You don't have to be nice.
He lives with Adam. Adam lives with him, my son.
Okay. And your grandson?
He's 10 now.
God,
I know.
I believe it.
He's a good looking boy, sweet boy. Anyway, I'm going. I said it.
Okay.
I am really.
When COVID's over, you're coming. Okay.
I'm gonna stay with you. Remember, we had fun time we stayed together. I stayed.
I know, it was fun. Hal came too. It was fun.
I know.
Well, no games this year. No, I mean, you know that.
No. Well, Hal's usually sitting in here. He has to sit in here with a mask. I mean, we have such a great relationship.
I was gonna say that's what I was gonna. Why did you ride in the car with him and y'all didn't? You wouldn't let him turn around. Do you not get close to each other? You mean?
No.
Because you go places.
No, we don't go anywhere.
But why don't you get close to each other?
No, he goes out because he's selling real estate now. He's out all the time.
Oh, okay.
He goes in the groceries. He goes everywhere.
Okay. Well,
I don't go anywhere. And he's allowed to come in my house. One time I did make him get a test. But, you know, he can sit across the living room over there, that chair, or on the couch, and I sit over there. And he has to wear a mask. No, it's been like a year of social distancing in our relationship. No, he's not allowed to come near me. I'm not going to die from this disease.
No, I wouldn't either.
And not what I've been through in my life. There is no way that I'm going down with COVID.
No.
I'm not. I fought too hard.
I'm not either.
None of us should. It's just,
Simcha had COVID and I took care of him for about 5 weeks, and then I just was in my mother, but I'm not getting it. That's it.
well, that's good.
Yigdal had it too, didn't he?
Y'all had it too, right?
Oh, yeah, both of Karen, well, not both of Karen. One of Karen's boys had it.
Did
But
he?
he had a mild case. Yeah, Jordan, the taller one.
And one of her kids got married.
Yeah, Jared, the young wild one got married. He's been married a year. They're 23 now. They've lasted a year. So they seem to be doing really well, actually. And Jordan, the tallest one. They're both really tall, 6'7" and 6'3". I don't know. And